Greetings, Cohort M. Cassandra Barlow here. For my Historical Foundations project, I chose a woman who has done so much, yet so little is known about her. As a certificated teacher myself, working in a non-instructional role as a job developer for the special needs community, I chose an extraordinary educator who laid the foundation for instructing special needs students. I'd like to share her with you now. Her name is Margaret Bancroft. She was born on June the 28th of 1854. She was an educator ahead of her time. She was a teacher, a principal, an entrepreneur, and an advocate for the special needs community. Her father was an immigrant from Wales, and she was the fourth of five children. She attended the Girls' Normal School in Philadelphia, and at the ripe young age of 19, she became a fifth grade teacher. She grew up to transform the way we educate people with special needs in America. She also was raised in the Quaker faith. I think it's important for us to digress for one moment and talk about some of the tenets of the Quaker faith because I think you'll see them coming up time and time again in her life. Quakers traditionally hold to the core Protestant Christian belief, including the divinity of Jesus Christ, the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and they also believed in salvation. Yet, like other Christian denominations, they hold unique beliefs as well. They believe that there is an inner light that resides in every person. And this is a term that the Quakers use to describe that theological belief that the presence of God does reside in everyone. And they adopt that from St. John's chapter 1 and verse 9, which says, "That was the true light which lighteth every man that cometh into the world." This doctrine was important as the Quaker founder, George Fox, argued that Christians did not need to go to church to know God. They simply needed to look within themselves. When I reflect on the work of Miss Bancroft, I firmly believe that she was driven by her faith. After teaching for just a few short years, her intelligence, imagination, and her dedication to her students set her apart as an extraordinary educator. She was recognized for her hard work. She quickly moved up the ranks to become principal of school number 9 on Temple Street. And as principal, she went to her superintendent of schools and she asked if she could create her very own class that would be made up exclusively of backwards and peculiar students, the term that she referred to them as. She wanted a class of backward and peculiar students, and she wanted to teach the class. Well, the superintendent was reluctant to allow her to teach the class. However, he did not want to lose her, so he granted her permission to still be the principal, but teach this class. But it quickly became apparent that one class would not be sufficient to accommodate the rising services of the special needs. So she then requested a leave of absence to go for additional training, and that leave of absence was denied. Well, I believe that that was the catalyst to her ultimate decision to embark upon entrepreneurship. And with the encouragement of the prominent professionals and a little bankrolling, Bancroft embarked on a courageous endeavor at the age of 29 of opening up the first private boarding school for disabled children. And so in 1883, located in Haddonfield, New Jersey, she opened the Haddonfield School for the Mentally Deficient and Peculiarly Backwards. That's a mouthful, and I'm going to say it again. The name of her school was the Haddonfield School for the Mentally Deficient and Peculiarly Backwards. The main differences in her program for special needs students was that she felt that no two students were similarly deficient. Therefore, they all needed an individual prescription of learning. She also believed that parents should be consulted when developing that prescription, and that we should also look to clinicians and other professionals who had worked with the students when developing their individual prescription of study. She felt that students should be, or special needs students should not be educated in the classroom with regular ed students. Today we call that self-contained. She also believed that they should not just be locked away from the world, but that they should be exposed to the world, and that those outings should be used as opportunities for training. In 1904, she changed the name of the school to the Bancroft Training School because she trained the educators. Every last one who came to work for her went through special training. And these are three different pictures of the Bancroft School for the Mentally Deficient and peculiarly backwards over the years. She was very much a trendsetter, and as an educator, she believed that these students could be taught. She believed that they should be in separate classrooms. She believed that they needed individual prescriptions of learning and that no school should have more than 100 students and no class should exceed more than 20 students. As an author, she penned many books to help the world. Her first book was in 1905, and it was entitled The Outlines for the Home Care of Children Who Are Backward and Mentally Deficient. And then in 1909, she wrote a book that she would use to train other educators. And she also went on to become a guest lecturer. From 1898 up until just 3 years before her death, she spoke to very prominent organizations such as the National Education Association and also the Department of Special Education for the National Educational Association. She was a community activist. In 1894, she invited a dozen prominent women in her community to her home to discuss how they could be change agents to help. And they started an organization called the Haddon Fortnightly. Here's a picture of a beautiful towering building. That is the Haddon Fortnightly, and they met on a regular basis. That building is now on the National Registry of Historical Sites. They are still trending today because over 125 years, they are still in existence, and it is a civic and social club for women. Margaret Bancroft, who was born in 1854, grew up to change the world simply by believing that there was an inner light within each child or within every person. Here is a statue that was erected in front of the school, which was actually her home because she lived in what was the school. And it was in commemoration of this remarkable woman. This school is still trending today. Educational trends that were begun by Margaret Bancroft in the 1800s are still paying dividends today. The Haddonfield School for the Mentally Deficient and Peculiarly Backwards of 1883 is still open, and it operates simply as Bancroft. It's a 501c3 company in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. Bancroft has expanded to offer a wide range of services for children and adults in more than 275 facilities and homes, and it has over 2,700 employees. It started with one woman and one student, never closed its doors, and now has over 2,700 employees. Its mission is to deliver high-quality services to empower students and residents. And in these programs, clinicians treat various challenging diagnoses, including autism, other intellectual and developmental disabilities, brain injuries, and severe behavior disorders within their facilities and in private homes, because they not only bring students in, but they also press out and visit homes to assist families as needed. More than 130 years ago, a Quaker woman named Margaret Bancroft, guided by her belief that there was an inner light that resides within every person, left her secure position as principal to open a school with just one student. Her vision was to offer individualized lessons that were tailored to students' specific needs in a private setting and offer community exposure opportunities. The school has never closed its doors. Today, it is still trending as a leading regional provider for special education programs for children and adults of all ages with autism and intellectual and developmental disabilities. Bancroft's light is still shining. And I just want to add, if we continue to trust God, our lights can shine as well. If you have any questions, you can reach me at cdbarlow@seu.edu. Have a blessed day. Goodbye.